Welcome to Brandon Hall Group's Excellence at Work podcast. You will hear from industry leaders covering innovative, cutting-edge business, learning, and HR topics that weave current market research and technology into each episode. Our Excellence at Work podcast is hosted by Brandon Hall Group's Chief Operating Officer and Principal HCM Analyst, Rachel Cook.
Hi, and welcome to Brandon Hall Group Excellence at Work podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, John. I'd like to welcome John Jordan from Bank of America. He heads up the Academy at Bank of America. Welcome to our podcast today.
Thanks so much. I'm glad to be on with you.
It's great to have you. And we're going to be chatting about the future of learning. And particularly, we're going to talk about your Academy. And I just also want to share with our audience today a little bit about you. As I mentioned, you are the head of the Academy at Bank of America and a member of the Senior Human Resources Leadership Team. In this role, John is responsible for employee onboarding, global learning, skill development for the company, serving 200,000 plus employees as well as communities around the world. The Academy provides robust educational programs supporting the entire career journey of employees of the company. Under his leadership, the Academy has received over 100 awards, including becoming the first J.D. Power certified career development organization. Congratulations. That's quite impressive.
Thanks so much. It's been an honor to be a part of the team.
And what a team you have. You've also received 23 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards of Human Capital Management in 2022, not to mention all the awards for years before that. Congratulations. That's excellent.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it.
And not just being recognized by Brandon Hall Group, which is, of course, quite prestigious, but you're also recognized. Our team or our award judges are made up of a global team of HCM professionals around the world. So you're being recognized by your peer organizations and our analyst teams. So that is, again, quite impressive. And we've been humbled and grateful to kind of been along the journey with you as we see all the major accomplishments you have, you've executed on and that you've demonstrated and that you've shared with our organization as well as others in the industry. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been great. As a matter of fact, when we started the Academy, I think the very first award that the Academy got was a Brandon Hall Award for Best Launch of a Corporate Learning University. So we appreciate all the recognition and certainly very humbled and honored to receive it.
That's right. That's going back just a couple of years now. And so that's a great way to start us off. Tell us about the Academy and the journey that you've been on.
Well, the Academy started in 2018, and it was a function really that was targeted to our frontline operations. So as a matter of fact, I came from the operations side of the business. I was a market exec. I had national sales leadership roles, led analytics and client experience for the company. So a lot of different roles. And we started this Academy in 2018 to help drive client experience consistently across our client-facing channels, to have a branded experience for onboarding and making sure that people get up to speed quickly and have a fast speed to productivity, and that they're confident in their roles. And over time, it grew from a financial center focused organization to really all client-facing organizations. And then about a year ago, we combined with our global learning function into the global human resources organization, and now serve all functions across the company. So now we're really focused on driving onboarding and upskilling for employees across the globe. And it doesn't have to be just client-facing type jobs. These are helping people with the skills that they need to be successful in their day-to-day jobs.
And what other areas are you primarily focused on besides onboarding, which is crucial?
Yeah, I mean, our biggest and first priority has been onboarding. To your point, it is crucial because we have seen through data and through studies outside of our organization that people are about 10 times more likely to leave within the first year if they have a bad onboarding experience. So we as a company have said, we're going to put a stake in the ground, make sure that onboarding is good across all roles. So whether that be from campus programs or joining from the military or joining from our local communities, it's really important that we bring people into the company, make them feel welcome, and that they can be successful from the very first day they join. We're also very focused on upskilling, and those programs span the full gamut. It can be relationship skills or communication skills, or really hardcore technology skills to help people be programming, driving our digital platforms, and helping keep our clients safe out in the technology world. So we have focused from really beginning to end of the employee life cycle as it pertains to upskilling. We want to create a culture of lifelong learning here. So after you're done onboarding into a role, we have programs that help bridge you into more advanced roles in a more vertical way, or horizontal programs that help you move from one organization or one type of role to the next.
Going back to your point on onboarding, it is, it's the first impression, right? It's so hard to adjust that first impression or to get a second chance. And so our research is also supporting what you're seeing as far as how paramount or how critical it is for the onboarding program to attract and to convey what the organization, the brand of the organization, the culture of the organization, to ensure that they're welcoming the new employee, the onboarding employee, but also that person is aware of their benefits, it's aware of their resources, who's supporting them, how they can gain information so that they can get started in their role, efficiently and effectively. And also, as you mentioned, the upskilling, what kind of opportunities do they have? What is their career path? Whether it's moving into leadership, but also those lateral positions are very important. And I think you were going to add to that. So if I was just really excited to hear that you mentioned those two elements of how important it is.
Oh, yeah. Well, we try to answer 3 questions during onboarding. For every employee, I think we all ask these questions about the companies we work for. That is, can I be successful here? And that means me, from no matter what my background, who I am as a person, it's important to feel like from those early days that this can be a place that you can thrive and be successful. The second question we focus on is, am I cared for? To your point, communicating benefits and programs that make sure people have their whole lives cared for while they're at a company, and that we have benefits in place to make them feel like they're, not just a number, but an actual important part of the company and the community that we have at large. And then the third question is, am I going to be proud to work here? And so a lot of the things that we do, whether they be solutions for our clients or opportunities to serve in our community, or just the things that we do in the world around us, we want people to feel proud. So the awards that you mentioned are really important for my team. The awards that we get for digital or products or services that we provide are really important for our teammates at large, because they want to feel proud to work here. So we talk a lot about those things during onboarding.
Great.
We mentioned onboarding, we mentioned upskilling. The third big priority for us is to really incorporate immersive learning and to have a high-tech approach. So we've actually started to invest heavily in simulations and in virtual reality and having people practice before they do. And that has really helped us to drive faster learning, to bring people up the learning curve much more quickly, to have them feel like they know what they're doing as they jump in. I mean, think about a flight simulator where people are actually, practicing flying all different kind of scenarios before they actually get behind the wheel of an airplane. That's the way we want to build corporate learning, is to give people the opportunity to practice. And we'll have 500,000 practice reps from simulations this year, and we're building more and more simulations where we'll have over 1 million repetitions a year just through practice. And those repetitions matter. They help people feel like they can be more successful. They help our clients at the end of the day. And it's been a real confidence builder for our employees.
And the simulations help with your upskilling, because whatever you need, and this is part of that continuous learning. And with the upskilling, I guess maybe share a little bit about how do you upskill, or how do you, what does that look like in the academy?
Well, it can take a lot of different forms. And as a company, as I mentioned, driving this culture of lifelong learning is important. And some of that's around learning motivation. So we try to give people the why. Why do they need to be upskilled? And sometimes it can be motivations around career advancement. Sometimes it can be around client experience. Sometimes it can be around opening doors to other things. So we think about upskilling through our college program. So we offer college funding for people to go get their degree if they prefer to. We offer programs around onboarding where we help people learn the skills that they need. And again, we meet people where they are. If they're coming in from a college type environment, they may have a certain set of skills versus someone who comes straight out of high school or has limited college experience. So we look at people's backgrounds and experiences. We make sure to customize those onboarding and training programs to make sure that everyone can be successful. And we've done a lot of listening. We ask people before, during, and after their onboarding and upskilling training how the experience is going. But at the end of the day, we ask them, do you feel ready to do the job? And if no, then why not? And that feedback loop helps us to fix training for every cohort. So that if the answer is no, and they say because of whatever that is, then we go to try to fix whatever that is to make sure that the next cohort has a better experience. And we've seen the satisfaction with training, the likelihood of recommending us as a company has moved up dramatically since we started taking that ears to the ground approach where we're listening to every employee as they go through the programs.
That's helpful, and especially getting them ready and confident to do their job, which is going to make them perform better. And that's, one of the key elements of learning is helping your employees not just engage them, but making sure that they can do their jobs confidently.
Absolutely.
And what else do you have as far as with the Academy? What is some of your priorities for this year going into next year?
Well, another area we've been focusing on recently is outreach in our communities. We're trying to create broader pools of talent in our communities, not just for us, but for our clients and all of the different areas that we work in. A thriving cities and thriving communities is important for us as a business, but we also feel like it's the right thing to do. So we've started to syndicate some of the training that we have with community colleges and nonprofits like Year Up or Unidos US, even in some of the better Boys and Girls Clubs and things like that, to help them with professional development before they even join the company. We have piloted something with the Community College of Rhode Island around our licensing program. You may or may not be aware, we license probably more people in a given year than any company in the world through our Merrill and our private bank organizations. And so because we have a lot of expertise on that, we've shared that expertise with the Community College of Rhode Island. They have had many people go through the SIE program, which is really the prerequisite to getting a license. And a lot of them are being hired, not just by us, but by a lot of other companies in that local market. And that's good for the people, the students of that school. It's good for the communities. It's good for the industry to have a really great, diverse source of licensed talent as we try to build a more diverse segment of professionals in the financial advice careers.
That's great. And I think you submitted for that as well, an award for some of your community outreach. And, we've seen, for many years, the work that Bank of America has done for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And even going back, I want to say maybe 7 years or so, when we were at one of our Advancing in Women Leadership Summits, your equality was almost, I think it was 45-55 split with women leaders at a certain level. So, and the amount of initiatives and strategy that Bank of America has put in place over the years for equality and equity and inclusion is something that has been, you've been recognized for that as well.
Well, it goes back to what I said before. It's like you want to meet people where they are and to find new sources of talent. Our Pathways program, which I know we've talked about in the past and gone through the award program, was a program focused on low to moderate income communities. We specifically targeted partnerships in communities that could give us recommendations for talent and connections to talent communities. we've already we made a commitment in 2018 to hire 10,000 employees over 5 years, and we did that in less than 3 years. And then we made another commitment to another 10,000 employees, and we're well on our way to that. So at the end of the day, we'll have 20,000 individuals from low to moderate income communities brought in, onboarded, trained by the Academy in client-facing jobs and technology jobs in our operations space. And it doesn't just stop there. Like I said, these ramps, once you get in the company, exist for all. So once they get here, they can continue to advance vertically. They can get their college degree if they prefer to do that. It can open up all kinds of doors for them so that ultimately we're a frictionless company as it pertains to career advancement. We want everyone to have access to opportunity, access to success, and the ability to take care of themselves, their families, and loved ones as well.
And it's not just a good thing to do, it's the right thing to do. And it also positions your company at a competitive advantage because we all hear it and we all say it, especially in HR and corporate training or HCM, there's always a war on talent. It's so hard to get good quality or competent employees. And when you have them in your company and then you lose them, that's just such a disadvantage. And so if you could do all these things right that you're building, it may take a little bit of time along the way to build your strategy and to assess your strategy and to make adjustments, but it's well worth the investment, because think about all that time that is spent on recruiting people and then you lose them. And we see it in our research, the percentage of retention or the percentage of attrition that companies go through, it's really sad. And so it's a detriment to their success. And really, what you've done here is such a great example of building capabilities for the future.
Well, we have a long way to go, but we are really excited about what we've built. And to your point, I would, for all the listeners today, it is so important that every piece of the puzzle comes together. So the talent acquisition strategy and the learning strategy have to work hand in hand. We have to even having cohort hiring dates and making sure that people are starting in groups and we create community, and that when people join, we have a feedback loop between the training and the talent acquisition space to help inform how to better describe our jobs in some cases. That connectivity across human capital and all the resources we have around human resources, if you do one well and not the other, it just doesn't function as a system. And we really focus on working together as a system to make sure that whatever our focus is, we're thinking end to end. And we call that operational excellence at Bank of America, where we're thinking about processes end to end. We do a lot of journey mapping for clients and employees to make sure that we're thinking of all those little details that make sure that everything fits together nicely.
And that's organizational excellence.
Absolutely.
And when you say talent acquisition and how it all needs to fit together, it's interesting because Brandon Hall Group, primarily started as a learning organization or a learning research organization. And over the years, we had to add on all these other functions in our research because we saw that you can't really do good learning, or your learning is not as effective if you're not thinking about your talent, your leadership, your talent acquisition, your diversity efforts. And you can't just think of them in these siloed approaches. You really have to, perhaps some things need to be done siloed or at, different points by different departments, but there needs to be a centralized effort or centralized understanding of how this is all connected and where they complement each other and where they overlap and where they can be utilized to optimize your efforts.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned also leveraging technology more in simulations. What other areas of technology can you define or can you share that you feel that is that you need or is a necessity for this to all work?
Yeah, so from a learner perspective, there's a lot that goes into the experience of a learner. Obviously, you've got the systems that we use to host our learning, the integration of those systems into a simple environment. So that's very important, that we're trying to simplify the learning environment to make sure that people have an easier interface to training, a more centralized approach versus having things distributed all around. So that's foundationally very important. But when we think about advanced technology, we think about simulators, at least within our world, along kind of three dimensions. One is simulating the technology that they use. So if you ever think about having a retail experience of any sort, you go in and they say, I don't know how to use my system, or I'm new, I don't know how to do this, let me call my manager. Well, that exists in banking for sure, right? But we want to eliminate that. So our simulations of technology help people know how to open up accounts correctly, or how to set up things or service accounts without having to go ask for the manager. We want to make sure that people are able to practice every scenario so that they can be successful. We also have a platform called iCoach, which is a conversation simulator. So we use this heavily in our contact centers, but it's actually artificial intelligence-driven practice. So people are practicing a conversation that would sound just like you and me having a conversation right now. It's actually quite amazing. And we simulate just thousands and thousands of different conversations so that people can feel comfortable with the way that they say things. We talk about the art of language a lot and how important words are. And that artificial intelligence will help correct those things and help people say the right things when that moment is important. We've also launched the most immersive solution, which is virtual reality. We have that in all of our financial centers, and we're launching in our call centers and in our Merrill business or wealth management space. We practice those really difficult situations and things that you just really need to practice. So it could be a difficult coaching conversation or something where you're trying to help calm a client in a stressful situation. We've even recently launched something around robbery. And we did that because even though we hope that never happens to an employee, if it does ever happen, we want to make sure that they have some context. And it's not just something they've read in a manual, but they've actually experienced what it's like when somebody comes into a financial center and passes a note to them or something like that. It's very stressful. I come from the field. I've managed situations like that. And, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, you want people to be ready. So virtual reality is another place where we can really get some practice reps on those rare but really important moments of truth with clients or with other employees.
Yeah, those simulations of reenacting what it's like in a theft situation, I've heard or seen also where that it's such an exact replication of the experience and the way that they make the learners go through it. They really feel like their anxiety is building up as if it was really happening. So it's amazing how they can recreate these environments for it to feel as if you're going through the situation in a real life scenario.
Exactly. And it makes it memorable. I will tell you, before I tried virtual reality, I was a skeptic. I thought, I don't think it's ready for prime time. It really is. It's remarkable how real it makes it feel. We're also testing new ways to do virtual reality for presentations. We can put someone in front of Carnegie Hall and have them presenting in front of a huge audience or just in a little boardroom. Mm-hmm. So we're testing things like that, and we're looking forward to seeing, how applicable that is at scale. But it beats, practicing in front of a mirror, which all of us have done before.
It's great how technology has the advancements of technology. And it's interesting how it also is incorporated now into the workplace, where we've had simulations before in games and in different, you go to these amusement parks or even museums. Like one of the simulations that I've always found that I liked was the one at the Natural History Museum in DC, where it really feels like you're flying with the dinosaurs, right? Yeah. And so, and it's funny though, because it took the workplace a long time to embrace the technology or this type of examples to incorporate into learning, right? I mean, if we talked about this 10 years ago around gamification, it almost wasn't existent.
Yes, it's come a long way. And if you think about the places where it's used a lot, in athletics. You think about athletics.
Oh, sure.
In the world where they think about the flexibility of your ankles and how fast you are in your first step, and they have everything's down to a science. In the corporate world, we're just not there yet.
Right.
In sports world, they use virtual reality a lot. Or you think about the military and the way that they approach onboarding or how they use simulations to teach pilots. I mean, there's a lot of places where this type of technology and the things that we're thinking about around onboarding and upskilling and using technology are very commonplace. But the corporate world is catching up. Good news is there's a lot of upside in terms of the impact we can have for our employees, and there's a lot of excitement. I've never had a situation where employees were sending me notes saying how much they love training and how much they're looking forward to the next module. That's not something you see every day as a learning executive, but have certainly experienced it over these past couple of years.
That's nice. That's great. And it certainly have, as you mentioned, we've learned a lot. And I think also being that the technology has been existing for a while, we've also can see like some of the lessons learned, and we can, eliminate some of the mistakes potentially when
Yes.
we're incorporating it or when we're designing and implementing it for the first time in our environments.
Absolutely.
So others can talk to you as well if they need to learn from someone that's been there that may be kind of assessing and evaluating what some of the options are. And what would you say are some of the advice you would give or some of the key considerations for companies that are maybe even starting to think about it, or maybe they've started it, but they just are quite not yet, fully vested in?
Yeah, I mean, the advice I would have for any company is it starts with what I said before, just thinking about your human capital as a system, thinking about the whole process. And then where are you having challenges with human capital in terms of it could be operational issues, it could be client issues. But typically learning has been looked at as an expense. I think it's an investment and it's an opportunity in productivity and in success. It's a risk mitigant. There's a huge business case to making sure that your employees are confident and know what they're doing. It's a huge business case to keep good people and not lose them to attrition. And so sometimes I feel like, historically companies may have looked at learning as, there's just this little bucket of things and we're going to use our web-based learning. It's kind of a click-through system. It's almost a check the box. That is not how we look at it at Bank of America. We look at learning as an enabler, a way for us to get better, a source of innovation, a way to help create pipelines of talent internally. When you think about, the way that we used to think about talent was almost like a free agency model, where if we lost an underwriter, we had to go find one somewhere else. And it created this war. It created a real war on talent, or war for talent in the industry. But we've taken a more draft-based model where we bring people into entry-level jobs and we source them and develop them so that they can advance to be our next generation of underwriters. And so as people are thinking about that business case, we now have 50% on average of our hires are internally based, and sometimes even more. And that means that we're focused internally on talent sources now in a way that you can't do without really investing in the systems that we've had in the academy and the technology that we've developed to make sure people can be successful in their jobs.
That's great advice, John. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your examples and your experience along this journey of you developing and your team developing the academy, and how you positioned it for success to onboard your employees, your new hires, to upskill and to reskill your workforce. So again, congratulations. Thank you for sharing today, and hope you enjoyed the experience with me as much as I have.
Thank you, Rachel. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, and talk to you soon. It's been great having you here today.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone.